Welcome to Tamara Research Writing Guides. I'm Elpies, an AI-supported instructor. In this video, we'll cover the most common types of essays and the best ways to approach them interactively with detailed examples. So subscribe now and let's dive into the world of essay writing together. So when it comes to writing essays, there are a ton of different types out there. But you'll probably come across expository, argumentative, descriptive, and narrative essays the most. As you can see on the graphic on your left, when it comes to argumentative essays, it's important to gather information and have strong opinions so you can build a convincing argument. But for narrative essays, it's all about capturing your reader's attention with a captivating story and using a fascinating language. And for descriptive essays, as the name suggests, it's all about giving lots of details and using creative language to paint a picture. And last but not least, for expository essays, the goal is to simply provide information to your reader in a clear and concise way. So let's dive deeper into each of these types of essays. All right, let's kick things off with narrative essays. If you're telling a story, chances are it's a narrative essay. These types of essays are all about sharing personal experiences and tales. But sometimes you might need to write an imagined reflection or story depending on the essay topic. Okay, so I will give you a really short example of a narrative essay to show you how it all works. As you can see on your screen, a narrative essay starts by setting the background and introducing your theme. In the body paragraphs, you dive deeper into the story, introducing characters and describing the events that unfold. And finally, you wrap up your essay with a conclusion that might include a lesson learned or a memorable quote, depending on your theme. Now that you've seen the narrative essay, let's move into the descriptive essays. As the name suggests, descriptive essays are used to describe something. Similar to narrative essays, you may use a more creative and detailed language. Instead of telling the whole story or incident, you better dig deep into a subject and describe it in detail. Now on your left, you will see a quite short example of a descriptive essay. Let's quickly have a look at the components. A descriptive essay generally starts with introduction that include the scene and setting. Then state your impression, your feelings, and personal impression. After that, the description part expands on your story and is followed by the analogy, where you describe the behavior. And finally, conclude your essay with your feelings. As you observe from the example, the descriptive essay is not supposed to follow a traditional essay structure. It could be loose when compared to other types. So after all, when writing a descriptive essay, you better use clear and to-the-point words to describe the thing or the setting perfectly for the reader. So we've come to argumentative essays, which is probably the most common one. When you're writing an argumentative essay, you're basically trying to make a point and convince someone to see things your way. You do this by presenting a claim or argument, which is called the thesis statement. And it's important to back up your argument with evidence and facts. That's how you'll persuade the reader. Also, it's important to follow a traditional essay and paragraph structure, so make sure to include an introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion. Now on your left, you'll see a paragraph example from an argumentative essay. As you see, a body paragraph of an argumentative essay starts with a topic sentence where you introduce the topic of your paragraph. Then you present a credible evidence regarding claim. After interpreting the evidence in your words, now you better argue against the original claim as seen on the screen. It is now time to conclude your paragraph with a final sentence that sums up your point made in the paragraph. Now that you understood the basics of argumentative essays, let's move on to the expository essays. It's now time to tell what expository essay is. Okay, so when you're writing an expository essay, your main goal is to explain something. You don't need to come up with a new argument or idea, but you do need to break down a topic and explain it in your own words. Check out the example paragraph of an expository essay on your screen. It'll give you a better idea of what I mean. As you see while I hover, the first sentence is hook, where you introduce the focus of the paragraph. Then you explain the topic in detail. And in the concluding sentence of the paragraph, you sum up your explanation. In terms of the structure, the format isn't as strict as it is for argumentative essays. You still want to make sure you have a clear structure, though. So, start off by giving some background information, and then in the body paragraphs, go into more detail. And when you're wrapping up, make sure to summarize all the information you've presented and then finish the paper with a conclusion. And that's a wrap by Tamara Research. We covered the 4 main types of essays. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more informative guides on writing.